You may now begin your presentation.
Every city inherits intelligence from its citizens. It's an extremely valuable resource to be harnessed by urban planners, architects, and city officials to make effective decisions in city building. People come from all over to cities to build their lives and their dreams. The problem is that when undesirable urban intensification occurs, people receive low quality of life and low return on investment happens. Existing methods of civic engagement are easy to buy, readily available. However, the problem is that they're quite outdated, the user experience is difficult, and they're hard to engage citizens and get them excited to participate. The Milieu experience is quite different. It's more comprehensive and effective in engaging citizens surrounding land use planning and development. Existing methods of engagement reach plenty of people, from surveys to comments to social media, but there's one huge challenge, and that challenge is to collect all that data and analyze it in an effective way. So that's where we come in. Milieu is a tool to help city builders make confident and effective decisions for land use planning and development. We do this by solving two main problems: how to effectively engage citizens and how to effectively use their public input. So we've been building out our tools, and these tools are to help citizens get excited about participation and also help city planners understand and how to use that data for effective decision making. So we have Urbot. Urbot is a lightweight widget that can be deployed and customized for any website. It can help to engage citizens through surveys, comments, and social media. We also have our civic engagement platform. It's map-based, where you have land use planning data, transportation data. We also have a number of functionality, so citizens can actually discuss, share their ideas, and give their feedback about the built form. But the cool part about both of these things is that all the data collected through these two channels feeds back to a central dashboard, where planners and urban developers can actually visualize and understand the metrics from the collected public feedback. So the cool part about this is that when we get this feedback, we use artificial intelligence to understand the civic data. That means through keyword extraction and key topics and public sentiment, we go deeper into what citizens are saying and how they say it. This also helps with planners in their process of understanding public feedback and helping with their workflow. Cities across the board are quite similar. As you can see behind me, this is a physical sign. The problem is that most citizens find out about what's being built around them when it's too late. Construction has already happened. Similarly, they have a trouble in terms of understanding what is being built and where to find information on that. So we're working with a number of cities, such as the city of Guelph, as you see here. And what we're doing is we're helping them notify residents and be able to find out about what's being built in real time around them. And we're also helping them manage effectively the public feedback that they collect. And we're doing this by creating an entire life cycle. So we help planners effectively engage these citizens through online service delivery so they can utilize this public feedback for confident city building. This also helps with planners and city officials and urban developers remain transparent and accountable throughout the entire development lifecycle. We're also building out our hybrid business model. So we help cities discover, strategize, and evaluate their citizen engagement needs and their collected data. So case-by-case projects help us build this long-term trust with cities and actually tackle ongoing engagement and data challenges. We're also building out our products. These products are rapidly scalable and easily deployable. So we let user needs and market demands drive the next tools that we're actually going to be building out. And I've shared some of those tools today with you on the presentation. This is our amazing team. We come from a dynamic background, from software development, architecture, urbanism, computer science, and we all come together to tackle this problem of cities and data and urbanism. We're also building up strong partnerships and an ecosystem around us. We have partnerships with universities, such as the Center for Urban Research and Education at Carleton, and we have a great team that are industry experts in their field. Civic tech is a rapidly growing market. $6.4 billion was spent on civic tech in 2015, and it's literally only continued to explode since then. Our clients range from urban developers, architects, and engineers, and they understand the needs of engaging citizens for better designs and building better cities. So today, I encourage you all, and I invite you all to work with us to help build confident and well-informed decisions for smarter, better, and more sustainable cities. Thank you.
We will now begin the question and answer period. Judges, please raise your hand to indicate if you have a question, and a microphone will be brought to you.
On the screen, you had indicated that with your team, and you had some indication of the mentors that you've got. Can you kind of speak to who those people are, who you're relying on for being able to get that information?
Yep. So we have a couple of folks who are experienced in enterprise service delivery that have worked on a number of IT projects for the Government of Canada. We have some strong mentors from CBase, so it's a center in Guelph, actually, which is works with entrepreneurs and students to support them and guide them through the process. So his particular strength is business development. We have other couple of folks in urbanism research, like I mentioned at the university. Because this sort of problem is very dynamic, we have a lot of different folks coming to support us in that from different domains.
Hi there. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your personal motivation for creating this and kind of what your passion, where it lies in this project.
Sure, yeah. So really it all started when my co-founder and I, Louisa, were in urbanism, studying urbanism, and we realized that there was a complete disconnection between how citizens found out about what's being built in the city around them and then how they can actually participate and give their feedback. That's really where it started for us. And then we began to consider, well, how can we create a way for citizens to feel engaged in the process in a very simple and easy way? And at the same time, as we went deeper, starting to work with cities and other people, we realized that they had a lot of challenges, particularly surrounding collecting that public feedback. And also, they were really hungry to also, engage citizens. And so it came from that idea of participatory democracy, really. And on my co-founder's side, she's from architect. So she was like, well, how can we get better data to help me build better designs and better buildings? So that's where really it came from.
Hi, great presentation, by the way, and really slick platform. My question for you, looking at your revenue forecast, sales forecast, what do you think you'd need to do to 10x those numbers?
I think, a couple of people have asked me that, and I think there's two things. One is we're trying to work and build strong partnerships with cities because that builds trust and credibility with the public, and it solves some problems for them. But at the same time, I think that developers, they're the ones with a lot of money, and they're the people that are definitely interested in market research and also engage. So I think that it's actually tapping into that market, but for us, the first challenge is we want to ensure to work with cities so that they also help with marketing the tool and building that credibility and trust. So I think once we can get into the urban development landscape a little more, then that will actually, as you say, hopefully 10x those numbers.
How do you quantify and measure and iterate and improve outcomes and impact?
So, great question. So now that we're currently working with a city where our tool is going to be rolled out for that entire city, we're going to be creating some benchmarks from that, and that will help us as we continue to engage other cities. So we've been speaking with a number of them, but we want to first be able to measure what we're getting with this current city. So that's, I would say, would be the first step for us, is we're building out those benchmarks and metrics right now. The current impact, we actually can kind of see a couple of them. We've produced a number of reports for a few councillors, and some of those actually already have gone to Planning Council and now serve as models for good intensification. So that's really the outputs that we're looking for because it's actual urban impact.
Hi, I'm wondering if you can comment on the biggest obstacle that you've encountered to date on this entrepreneurial journey and how you conquered it.
Sure. I don't think it can ever be conquered, but I think it's a constant challenge of your own mental health in relation to your teams. And my co-founder and I spent a lot of time together, maybe like 18 hours together. And we have a small team now, 5, but it's gone through a number of transitions. And I think that constantly keeping your own mental health in check, while as also remembering the teams and working together, that's, I think, an ongoing challenge for any business. Because you're constantly thinking about it, but you're also like, when I come to this competition and hopefully I win prize money, I got to support my team as well, right? So it's about redistributing what comes in and what goes out. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is mental health.
So the idea to me makes a lot of sense. I'm still not clear though on the revenue model. Do you get paid on a project basis? If you just elaborate, please.
Yep. So we've been doing a subscription model for cities. So that's what we discovered was the best solution for our city clients. But we find also as we continue down the road of like RFPs and working with urban design firms, that they generally need just like sometimes one-offs. But of course, once you build that trust with them, they'll be coming back. So the revenue model is subscription-based for the platform. And then for Urbot, our tiny tool, we're doing that sort of a monthly fee. And then a lot of clients also need more customization, so surveys and reports and how they want the data given back to them. And sort of that kind of is adding to the cost.
So the challenge that I could see is you might get caught up doing a lot of custom RFP work, which is sort of an agency side of things. So I guess my question would be around how do you prevent that, or how do you circumnavigate that from preventing you from scaling? And then what's ultimately the goal out of this for like mass scale? What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, so we've sort of built out a toolkit of sort of 5 basic metrics on the back end. So that's the customization, I would say, for like, for example, a city. They want 5 basic metrics. And we see that with kind of all the clients across the board. They want to understand the controversy, the general sentiment, the keywords. So we kind of have a baseline, so it avoids too much customization. And again, all across the board, the same challenge is the same. Post-processing issues, collecting in all that data and being able to, in real time, understand it. So it's not too heavy. Cities have more of the customization problem. For the ultimate goal, I mean, we want to be able to have this for all cities so that citizens can just find out right away what's being built. And so it's partnering with cities to help us, and then working with urban developers and architects and designers, and possibly even going into VR stuff. We're in talks with a couple of companies now, because that's very interesting, you know, to engage citizens in a sort of virtual reality way in the built environment. So yeah, our ultimate goal is to really be the tool for cities, to be honest.
Yeah, hi. You're 1/3 of the way into 2017, and you have forecast here. So how are you doing so far? Relative to the 175 target.
Yeah, I understand that. So we already are working with one full city. There's 2 others that we're in talks with right now, and if we can land those ones, then that would definitely meet our target based on our subscription pricing fee. So we have 1. We still have 2 other thirds to go for the rest of the year. So I'm hoping that that's going to happen. I got to get back to Ottawa so I can continue going on that. But yeah, I mean, we're on. It seems like we're on track, to be honest. And we have a couple of other small one-off RFPs and sort of master plans and projects going on. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. Yeah.
What do you see as the largest threat to your success, and what are you doing about that?
The largest threat to our success is just constantly being able to have the right resources available to us to be able to do what we need to do. So right now we're a 5-person team, but as these more projects keep coming in, I think it's just about sort of being strategic and what kind of resources we need to solve our problems. So right now we have 3 software developers. We may need to ramp up our team when the time comes. So I think that it's important for us in terms of balancing the workload with what we need in the future.
I love that you're incorporating AI. That's super cool. I just want to ask you a couple questions about that. So artificial intelligence is really difficult to do well, right? So 2 problems that come up frequently, one being that third-party developer tooling is really limited. So I'm curious, I noticed you had an NLP engineer on your deck. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, but also data sets. You need really deep industry-specific data sets to have really good AI. So just if you could talk a little bit more about that, that would be great.
So the cool part is that our linguist, she's a master in language, and yeah, she's also our data scientist. And so she's the one that's working on the reports with 2 of our other software developers. We all kind of have our hands in it, but really we sort of train the AI, right? So we want to build up that industry domain-specific knowledge. So part of that is getting our hands on a lot of data sets that cities have. So that's the value in partnering with the cities, is that we can get access to their land use planning data. And that's a cool part because we want to build up our models around sort of building these criterias and taxonomies of language around that domain. And we've noticed, based on our competitors in the States and other folks that are doing that, they took about 4 years doing the same thing, building up partnerships, getting access to data, and sort of training their tools as well. So that's where we are, and that's exactly what we're doing now. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I mean, that's exactly, it's just like a slow process, getting access to the data. But again, a lot of cities are very hungry to share that data, especially with a lot of the open data initiatives now. So, and it's actually a lot of the land use planning data is available all the time. You can search for it right now online. So that's kind of what we do. We showcase as much open data as we can on our tool for cities, and then when we work with them, it's their like official data. So yeah, again, just training. It takes a long time to train these AI and machine learning to be able to in this domain. So yeah.
Yeah, great presentation. I would love to hear about what you plan to do with competition, particularly incumbents that you're trying to take out as they adopt and change. What are the things you're going to do to stay ahead of that competition or do things and protect your own path?
Mm-hmm. Again, so I presented that slide in terms of building out our toolkit. And that comes as I was sort of answering that question, kind of a nice segue is we're staying innovative by getting access to more data and training the tools and building the tools that we think are interesting that we haven't really seen. So when we do our market scan, there's very few people that are using AI in urban planning. In the States, they're starting to with public sentiment, but we're still kind of ahead of the curve here. And then the key piece is that when you lock down a city, it becomes the official tool for data collection for land use planning. So that's kind of one of the key advantages that we see by partnering with the cities so that they don't have to keep doing these one-off engagements. In fact, it gets rid of a whole market. They don't have to procure any other tools because citizens are already using that and they're using that. So that's kind of what we see as one of the main strategic advantages. And then again, the final point would be partnering with research organizations, universities, publishing information. So yeah, that's another piece for us.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm looking at your 3-year financial projection,
Yep.
and I'm wondering if you can tell us the 5 people that you have on your team, what your head count would be at your 2019. Like, is there economies of scale with those 5 people, or because your cost of your main business cost, which is really your cost of goods, at $335,000 doesn't feel like it could employ more than 5 people. So I'm wondering, does that mean that the 5 people you have could scale all the way up through the next 3 years, or would you have to add more headcount? And if so, how are you paying them?
Yeah, so I think that that was done when I think what we realized when we started is we had a much bigger team, and that's how we kind of lost a lot of our resources. So now we're keeping a very tight team. And again, I expect, I know they said this in the sort of entrepreneurship training that we had the other day, but you always got to take care of paying yourself, right? But my co-founder and I have always expected that we would be receiving the low end of everything and taking care of our team first. So we have a solid team now, and those 4 folks, we did that projection when we were kind of going through that transition. So I think that for sure needs to be updated. But in any case, we have a very small team, and I think we'd still be good to do that because we would just be consulting out if we needed extra hands right now. We've decided that a small, agile team is much more effective than too many people, so.
Just wondering, what percentage of your gross sales did you allow for marketing?
So with this one, it's interesting because, again, by partnering with the city, that takes care of almost like 70% of our marketing and communications because the city departments already have that as part of our contract with them to help market and communicate the tool and the use. So the percentage that we'd be allocating for marketing at this point, because we're focused in a very specific region in Ontario right now before we scale too fast, I would say like maybe 30% is what we've allocated to marketing. Because again, like we've been working on a city scale.
So 30% of your gross sale going to marketing?
Like around 20 to 30%, I would say. That would be what's going to it. Because we're leveraging the power of the city and their communications as well. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, great presentation. Thank you very much. I want to
Thanks.
ask you, in addition to so right now what I heard is that there's 1 city that you're currently working with and 2 that you're planning to work with. Aside from who you plan to work with and sell to, how many have you spoken to find out that this is a problem, aside from, let's say, your own views and what the researchers say? Like, actually spoken to them and found out this is a problem?
Yep. So generally, I live in Ottawa. I spend a lot of time in Toronto, Barrie, London, Windsor, and I've spoken to a lot of so generally the first department of contact that we're speaking with is urban planners. So I've spoken to quite a lot of customers that are urban planners or urban designers or engineers. And again, I have a couple meetings with cities lined up when I get back to Ottawa, but I'm always trying to speak with cities to understand what their needs are for engagement and data collection. So, I mean, every time you come to an event, right, you're always meeting more people to speak with, and I'm always asking those questions, like, well, what is the challenges you face in your workflow and in your day-to-day profession?
Your time has expired. Judges and guests, please help me in thanking Lee Michael Pronko from Carleton University.